how I organize my thoughts. So yesterday I sat down and I drew a bit of a diagram, and I think I have finally found a way to properly organize my thoughts and all the things that I think about. And the way that it is structured is fundamentally there are two levels that you live life on. And the first level is the material level, and the second level is the spiritual level. And so, and the more important level is the spiritual level. Because when you have figured out the spiritual level, when you have presence, in short, when you are hardly having any thoughts, then you will almost automatically get into a state of happiness, and then happiness in the now. And then what exactly you do on the material plane is not that important anymore. Because right now, most people think they need to go on a vacation or achieve this goal or that goal in order to become happy. But that is probably not true. What they probably need to do to be happy is they need to change their state of being. And I don't really know what that means, but I think one big part of it is not thinking very much. And so that's what I try to do. And it is also something that I definitely struggle with. And it also holds me back in the things that I try to do. So for example, I exercise each morning very early, but I often find myself sitting on the floor for several minutes, ruminating over certain things, and then therefore I take way too long to do my exercises. And so improvements on the spiritual plane improvements on the spiritual plane always lead to improvements on the material plane. And so it might not be the improvements you necessarily thought you wanted, but it will be improvements that are real, that you can actually have. And so that's the first thing. The spiritual plane and basically just practicing presence is way more important than anything else. And then all the other categories that I now talk about, they are looking at the material plane. And there are three big subcategories. And the first one is, and that's like the key principle to decide what to do. And this is what that I use to decide what to do, or that I try to use to decide what to do. I'm again far away from being perfect with this. And this is asking yourself, what would someone successful do right now? And this is like kind of the ultimate principle that when I don't know what to do, I always fall back on. And then I also have arguably some sub-questions where I'm like, what would someone successful do right now? It's like, I don't know. Okay, what question would someone... No, it's like, I ask myself, what would someone successful do right now? And I can't come up with a proper action that I can take right now. Nothing comes into my mind. But what I often find myself doing, or not much anymore, because I feel like my connection with the spirit of that question has been almost entirely severed over the last few months and years. but especially hard over the last few months. But what I often found myself coming back to then was the answer that someone successful would, what someone successful would do right now is ask himself this question. And then there would be another question that actually yields a very good result for the current moment and what to do in the current moment. And so some of these questions are, what would this look like if it was simple? Then something that I call the day-by-day mindset, which is essentially if I took the action that I'm going to take right now, not just right now, but every single day for the rest of my life, what action would I take? And so because what I always, this is me getting on a tangent again, but I don't care. So what I always found myself doing was I would ask myself, like, what do I want to do? Or there would be two options really. Like the first one would be sit down and think and create a new goal for my life. And like this was fine the first 2 or 3 times, but very soon I realized that this was actually a very destructive pattern in my life. And then I found that there are other activities that I could do that would help me way more with my life. For example, or not way more, but that would at least be better than just completely starting a new life journey in my mind, so to say. And it would just be simple things like going outside on a walk. But the thing is, if every day for the rest of my life I went outside for a walk for 30 minutes, that would be that would help my health in a considerable way. And so that's a good thing to do. Anyways, we were talking about the key principle in the material plane, and the key principle there is, what would someone successful do right now? And the answers that I used to find to this question were either immediate actions, or I would ask myself like kind of other questions that would be appropriate in that moment, like the using the day-by-day mindset, or asking myself what would this look like if it was simple, or asking myself how can I turn this into this situation into an advantage. Okay, so that's the that's the ultimate principle here. And then the other two categories are like the categories that are basically areas that I want to master, and then areas that I need to master in order to make progress in life. So the first category for me is different areas of life that I want to get good in. And so it's basically finances, so I want to become incredibly rich. Then second, social skills. Then third, health, where I essentially want to run a lot of marathons and ultra marathons, and I want to get better and better at running. Then the fourth area is writing, where I want to write fantasy books. The fifth area is doing I Can Study, where I want to essentially become a master at learning. And then the sixth area is making YouTube videos. And then what I also put into this area, because it's simply something that I have to spend a lot of time on right now, is going to work. And also because I also put it in there because it's something that I'm trying to find fun in, and that I'm trying to use in order to just grow as a person. And I think I have found a few ways to actually use the time that I spend at my job to achieve those two things. So to have some fun with it, and to leverage it to improve myself. And then the third category are things that as I go through my life and reflect, and as I go through my life with a bit more consistency in certain habits than I used to before, and I reflect, I find that these things are quite important. And the first area here are different principles, and I think I will make a video. Oh, this is what I will make the next video on. And I will make the next video on the principles that I have kind of learned over the last few weeks that I want to consistently apply to my life in order to keep improving. So it's principles first. Then the second thing is growth journal, which is basically me sitting down every evening and asking myself certain questions. Then the third area is behavior change, which is mostly based on Tiny Habits, a book by BJ Fogg, which I highly recommend you read, because the ability to change your behavior or knowing how to change your behavior and your habits is a fundamental building block in order to make any other kind of progress in self-improvement. And it is something that all the self-improvement YouTubers that I at least have watched have either not talked about at all or not talked about with the focus and gravity that I think this topic needs. Because if you don't know how behavior change works and how you can change your own behavior, it makes zero sense to watch self-improvement videos that tell you to do X habit and Y action, because there's no use in knowing what to do when you can't get yourself to do what you should, to do what you know you should do. And behavior change is, it's basically the strategies that you need in order to build good habits. And so I think it's very important. And then the fourth thing, I don't even fucking know, to be honest. I have to look it up, just as I always do in these professional videos. Give me a second. Shit. No. Yeah, found a piece of paper I wrote these things down on. Oh yeah, and the next two things, the next thing is mental health, because that's also something I am severely struggling with. Like, I am incredibly stressed out right now, and I think it's impacting my health at the moment, and so I can make proper progress in any other area of life if I don't get my health in order. And I think the root cause for my bad health at the moment is my mental health. And so that's another fundamental that I have to master, or at least that I need to get in order. And then the last thing is mindset, which, I mean, it's kind of the same thing like mental health, but it does come from putting this category in there comes from a different thought experiment. And the idea, or what I was asking myself is, what are areas that I can make progress in life where the progress cannot be taken away from me? Because right now, like, I want to invest a lot of money, and I do know that if I invest a lot of money, or at least the likelihood that when I invest a lot of money for a long period of time, that I will become incredibly rich is very high. However, there are some some events that just can completely wipe out basically all of my net worth. And so the question is, what are things that I can develop and what are skills? Oh, that's kind of it's already saying it, but what are things that I can develop that nobody can take from me? And so some of the cool areas of life, like for example, being good at learning, this is something nobody can take away from me. Also, I think that good social skills is something that is incredibly valuable and that no one can really take away from you. But another thing that nobody can take away from you, and that can also be very valuable, is your mindset. And so that's why I put it there, because it's like the other things, they're like things that I can see as like an area of mastery where I have to, or where I can spend a certain amount of time on, and I can track whether I did spend, let's say, an hour that day working on my YouTube channel, or an hour that day talking to people to improve my social skills. But mindset is not really something where you can like say, oh, okay, I spent an hour today improving my mindset. And so that's why I put it into the last category. But yeah, I put it there because it is an area of life that you can improve in, where no outside force can take away your progress in it. And also another area, of course, where no outside force can take away your progress with it, is presence. So yeah, that's it for today.